Hi, I'm Cole Krasny from Woodbridge, Virginia in the USA. This lesson is for week 4 of Introduction to Music Production at Coursera.org. I'm going to talk briefly about the technique, riding the fader, and demonstrate its use within an actual musical context. I'll demonstrate using a light version of Ableton Live.
The term riding the fader is actually quite a simple concept. Basically, all you're doing is changing the volumetric parameters of an envelope within your DAW, and you're doing it in a way to balance out the dynamics of the performance so that the loudness of each individual note being sung or played has a more similar, maintained, balanced volume to the rest of the notes, regardless of their original velocity and/or amplitude. Riding the fader can also be considered a type of manual compression in that we're kind of narrowing the dynamic range of all of the notes so they are all of a more similar amplitude by automating the volume, so it goes lower when the instrument gets loud and raising it up when the instrument gets quiet, so all of the notes at that point will sound just as loud as the others. I know that was quite a mouthful, but I'll start demonstrating how it works. This track here that I've highlighted is a guitar track that I recorded for this example. If we zoom in a little bit and take a look at the waveform, you'll see that there are areas where the volume of the notes are louder than others. This red line going across horizontally represents the volume by which the track will be played at. If I pull it up, the volume increases. Pull it down, it decreases. It's at 0 dB, which is the default setting, and the original volume of my recorded instrument represented in decibels full scale. Manipulating the volume of a track by riding the fader is more commonly used with vocal tracks, but trust me, you don't want to hear me sing. This guitar track will have to do. You may notice that some of the notes are very punchy sounding and much louder than the rest of them that are kind of being hammered on, if you're familiar with that guitar term. We could add a compressor plugin to help us with this and decrease the dynamic range, or we can do it manually by riding the fader, which won't dig into our CPU resources. If we take our pencil tool and start drawing in lines, we can kind of follow along the bottom of the waveform, because the larger the waveform is, the louder it is, and the farther I bring any portion of this envelope down, the volume decreases. So if we decrease the volume at the same time the waveform gets bigger, and therefore louder, then the sound we hear stays the same in volume throughout. Here's the sound of it before riding the fader. You can hear that it actually kind of sounds like it's fading in and out in volume, but that's actually the original performance with the natural variations in my hammer-ons. Here's what it sounds like after riding the fader. I don't know if you can tell immediately, but if you listen carefully to the new one, you'll hear that the fading in and out sound is much more subtle and the overall volume is more consistent after riding the fader. You can also alter these parameters by using an external mixer and MIDI mapping the volume parameter to it, and moving the volume slider on the mixer up and down at the desired locations while it is recording. It will record these automations into the track and voila, the faders will be rode. But doing that won't be as perfect as it can be if you take the time to do it manually. One of the cons of riding the fader is that it does take some time, especially if you're doing it over a large track. Another con is that any unwanted electrical or acoustical noise that was introduced into the recording will be more apparent when boosting the volume of the quiet stuff, because you'll be boosting the volume of the noise as well. Consider using a noise gate plugin to help diminish those unwanted noises between notes if necessary. It could help, might not though, but I recommend that you experiment a little. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that it was helpful and that it answered any questions that were lingering. Have a nice day.